The statistical inference is a procedure through which we can test the certain assumptions about the population parameter. Now, this objective of testing certain assumption about the population parameter may be achieved by two ways. The one is through estimation and other is through testing of hypothesis. So, as far as the estimation is concerned, estimation may be categorized into further components, and they may be the point estimation or the interval estimation. So, even using the interval estimation, we can identify the unknown value of the population parameter. So, now we would be taking the confidence interval approach under the sign test to test the certain assumption or to identify our unknown value of the median difference. So students, in the procedure for construction of the two-sided 100 into 1 minus alpha % confidence interval, now why I'm going to say that it has to be two-sided, because whenever we talk about an interval is always in form of A to B. So there is that lower limit of the interval and there is an upper limit of the interval. So students, we are going to assume that our unknown value of the population parameter, which in our case is mean difference. So we are expecting that the mean difference, which is unknown to us, under the sign test, usually the mean is not being taken. We consider the median difference. So we are assuming that the median difference is expected to lie within two values, that is the lower limit and the upper limit. That is why we call it as two-sided 100 into 1 minus alpha % confidence interval. And the under this confidence interval, we may assume that a confidence coefficient that can be 0.95, that means 95%. So by 0.95, what do we mean? We are expecting that there are 95% chances that of all the intervals we have constructed to identify this MD or to estimate this MD, we are expecting and we are 95% sure that it will be found within that interval. That means our MD may be estimated. So the random sample of differences in the case of pair data would replace the random sample of observation in the one sample case. Why? Because students, if you remember that whenever we talk about the related sample, we usually consider the DI as YI minus XI. So we convert the related samples, that means the two samples, into a single sample, that is DI. The data must satisfy all the assumptions that are being taken or considered under sign test, because we are going to construct the confidence interval for the sign test. Now, the procedure that we would be outlining for finding out the median difference for the confidence interval would be that for each of n pairs of observations xi yi, we would have to determine the difference di as yi minus xi. Then once we have calculated the difference, the binomial probability table will be used to find the largest k dash, such that this assumption is true. That is, probability of k less than equal to k prime given that n, where n is the sample size, comma 0.5, which is a proportion, it has to be less than or equal to alpha by 2, where alpha is the level of significance. The next thing we would have to do under this procedure is to arrange the sample differences in order of magnitude. That means from smallest to the largest. And then k dash plus 1th difference would be called as ML, and the lower limit of the confidence interval, we call it as lower limit. If we count backward from the largest towards the smallest, then k dash plus 1th difference would be called as MU. That means the upper limit of the confidence interval. Once we found out the ML and MU, we are expecting with a certain degree of confidence that our unknown value of the population parameter would be expected to lie within this interval.